Yeah, welcome back to my channel, Jadala Fashion Guide. Today's video, I'm going to be making a peplum blouse, a 720 peplum blouse. The waist you are working with is 34. We're going to divide that by 2. We have 17. So the radius is 17 divided by 6.28. That is 2.7. So you're going to be cutting 2 of that. The length of the flare is 13 inches, so we're going to, the radius is 2.7, so I'm marking the radius. I'm marking the radius 2.7, so I've approximated that to 3 inches. So I've marked 3 inches. So you just mark that round. To know the amount of fabric to put on fold, you add the radius to the length of flare, and then you are going to fold that into 4. So here is me marking the radius 3 inches. So that should give me 17. So I have more than 17, that will be enough. So the next thing to determine the length of flare. I'm going to be cutting 10 inches. So the full length of the fabric on fold plus the radius is 13 inches. So 13, that is 26 inches. So when you fold it into 2, then into 4 again. So here is me marking 10 inches of the flare. We are going to use ½ inch to join the upper part and ½ inch to turn it down, then making the flare to be 9. So just mark it round, mark the 10 inches round. So connect all the lines that you have marked, and then we are going to cut. And just confirm your measurement one more time, it's correct. So we'll cut out the flare. It's a 720 peplum flare, that is 2 of 360. So use this to cut the second one. So here's both of them. We have cut the 2 flare out. So the next is to cut the body. This, we have cut out our fabric. This is the front part, and then this is the back part. The length is 17 inches, and then the width, we have used the highest circumference divided by 4 plus 4 inches extra. So I'm marking the shoulder now. The shoulder is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8 inches. We are going to be marking both of them together. So I've placed the front pattern on the back pattern. So I've marked the shoulder 8 inches, and here is the shoulder slant 1 inch, and then the neck width is 3 inches. So mark the neck width 3 inches, and then you're going to mark 1.5 inch for the back pattern. 1.5 inch for the back body. So you're marking, you are going to be cutting with the back bodies first. So I've marked 1.5 inch for the neck. So the armhole depth is 7.5 inches. Mark is 7.5 inches. On that same line, mark the armhole length, which is the bust circumference divided by 4, and also mark the shoulder so that we can connect it to the upper line. So this is the armhole depth. And then we get the midpoint of that. I'm just trying to square the line so that we can have the chest line. So this is a chest line. This is shoulder to chest. So the next thing, you're going to mark all the vertical points before we continue. The shoulder to the bust point is 10.5. And then we mark shoulder to the under bust 13.5. So I'm going to repeat it on the other side so that we can have a straight line. Shoulder to the bust point 10.5, shoulder to the under bust 13.5. So we use our ruler to connect that together. So this is the chest line, the bust line, the under bust, and then the waistline. Just trimming off the excess at the down part so that it can be straight. So we're going to continue with the armhole. So on the armhole depth, you get the midpoint. You mark the midpoint and then you go in by 1/2 inch for the front pattern. So take your French curve, mark out the back armhole first, connect the back armhole, and then that is the back armhole, and then the front armhole, the one that you marked 1/2 inch inside. So you connect the back armhole. So you're going to be marking the dart. That is half of the bust span measurement. The bust span is 7 inches. Half of that is 3.5 plus 1/2 inch seam allowance. So you are making use of 4. So mark 4 at the waistline. We'll mark it at the under bust and then at the bust line. Then you take a ruler and connect the points together. So on the waistline, we are going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides. And then on the bust line, you're going to come down by 1 inch and then connect that like a triangle to the waistline. So use a ruler to connect that. So we are going to be drawing a princess dart from the middle of the armhole depth towards the bust line. So you go above the bust point by 1 inch and then connect that from the midpoint of the armhole. So I'm using a princess dart. So connect from the midpoint of the armhole to 1 inch above the bust line. So just blend it out, no sharp edges. Just blending it in with the French curve. And then I'm going to take a dart there at the armhole or come down by 1 inch and reconnect it to the bust point. So I'm just drawing the dart again, making sure that we have it in the correct place. Reconnecting the princess dart. So I decide to now use 1/2 inch on both sides of the neckline. Sorry, both sides of the initial dart. And then I extended out the line by 1 inch and redraw the armhole. So this is me redrawing the new armhole. I extended the middle out by 1 inch and then draw out the new armhole curve. So the next thing is to impute our measurements. The bust circumference divided by 4 plus seam allowance. Also the under bust circumference divided by 4 plus seam allowance. And then on the waistline, the waist circumference divided by 4. Replace the 1 inch dart and also add the seam allowance. So connect the points together, the waist to the underbust, the underbust to the bust point, and then the bust point to the chest line. So just blend it out because the body is not straight. So we're going to be cutting out the pattern. I'm going to cut out the neckline. We are cutting both neck, front and back first. So that is the back pattern. I'm just marking the neckline again. So don't forget to mark the shoulder slant. I'm just marking the shoulder slant. And also half-inch seam allowance on the shoulder slant. On the shoulder. So connect that. Now we can cut. So we are going to be cutting following the back pattern first. So cut the shoulder, then the back armhole curve. So I'm just drawing out the lines on the back pattern. So I'm starting with the darts, cutting out the dart on both the front and the back pattern. And then I'm cutting the side. You know the front is a princess dart, so we cannot cut both of them princess. Use that for the front and back. Now I'm cutting the armhole. I'm cutting with the back armhole. And then complete the shoulder. So I'm going to separate the pattern now. So that is the back armhole. So I'm going to cut out the back neckline. It's 1.5. You can use a fresh curve to mark that out. This curved neckline, circle, round neckline. So just cut that out. So I'm just trying to reconnect the bust line so that we can know where to stop the dart. That is the bust line. That is the chest line, sorry. This is the bust line. This is the under bust line, though we do not need the under bust at the back. So there's a chest line, the bust line. We don't need the under bust, so this is the waistline. So just remarking the dots, half of the bust span on the bust line. So the dart is going to stop 1 inch above the bust line or 1 inch below the chest line. So that is where the back dart is going to stop. So I'm just reconnecting the dart for the back. So now we can cut out the back dart. So you can extend it to the shoulder line. So there's no bust at the back, just trimming off the excess. So the next thing is to avoid zip bulge at the back. We're going to you're going to mark 2 inches on the zipper side and slant it towards the waistline. Slant it towards the waistline. So I'm going to cut that out. So the back pattern is complete. Just cut open the zipper line. So now let's complete the front pattern. And cut out the princess dart. So finish cutting out the princess dart. Now we are recutting the armhole curve. I'm going to cut out the excess part of the dart. So we're going to cut out the armhole. Just cutting out any excess that we have around there. So now we can cut out the neckline. The neck width is 3 inches. You're going to be having a scoop neckline. So I'm using 6 inches for the neck depth. You're going to have a scoop neckline. So just watch how I'm going to cut out the neckline. It's a scoop neckline, like a round neck but a bit deep, like a U neckline. So just watch how I cut that out. So we're going to cut it out. So just open it up for you to see what the neckline looks like. So that is our scoop neckline. So our pattern is complete. That is the back pattern. And this is the front pattern. And then this is the peplum. We are going to be cutting the sleeves now. So to know how to fold the fabric, use the armhole, the bust circumference divided by 4. So the sleeve is going to be a 3/4 sleeve. It's going to be 16 inches long. We are going to be cutting 17 inches. We're going to add 1 inch for seam. So just mark your fabric, mark the wrong side. So mark the length of the sleeve. That's the length of the sleeve. So you can cut that out. So I use it to cut the second one. So you can cut the sleeve together at once. So place it on another fabric. If your fabric is so close, mark the wrong side. So you use your pin to hold both of them together. So cut it out. Next, you're going to mark the cap height. The cap height you are working with is 4 inches, so you mark the cap height. If you don't know how to draft a basic sleeve pattern, you can check my channel. I have a video on how to draft a basic sleeve, a basic long sleeve. So I'm just trying to check the armhole length. So this is a freehand way of cutting the sleeve. I'm just marking the bicep. And then from that point, I'll draw a straight line. Diagonal line if you like. Then we get the midpoint. Get the midpoint of the line, and then we further divide both sides into two equal half. So I'm just using my free hand to draw out the sleeve cap height. So I'm just confirming again my measurements, and then the elbow round divided by 2. Not marking the elbow, we're going to mark below the elbow. To mark below the elbow, we'll add our seam allowance to that. I'm just cross-checking the armhole length. Now we are going to cut. So notch the midpoint of the sleeve. So we're going to be cutting lining for all our patterns.